Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 29 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And I'm your other host, Brian. And boy, do we have a first chop tonight.
Woo! A first chop and a dismemberment, epic proportions.
And Tim predicted this on the last episode. He said how, whether it's directly related to this or not, but, you know, a successful movie like It comes out, it changes the industry. And it seems like just this past week alone, all this like horror news is exploding. It's crazy. I mean, obviously the first one we'll have to announce, which, I mean, this, I think, it almost broke the internet, literally. It was when Jamie Lee Curtis just, out of the blue, decided to tweet a picture of her standing in front of the old Myers house with good old Michael standing behind her, saying how she is going to be in Halloween 2018.
And not just in it, Brian. She is back as Laurie Strode. Somehow. Right.
So they are... I would assume they are just going to forget. They're pulling a Friday the 13th kind of a thing and whatever other horror movies. Now, this is what is like the fourth now incarnation of this storyline. But supposedly, I think it's going to be what I've heard most is a direct sequel to Halloween 2. And it's going to take place 60 years later, they said, right? Or something like that? Or no, 40 years later.
It can't be.
Sorry,
60
40 years later. She's supposed to be 60 or something. I don't know. Yeah, so I guess 40 years later.
Yeah, that would make the most sense because then you forget all the... I mean, you forget even the fairly good sequels,
right?
Like 4 and 5, and just start from the gospel Halloween 1 and 2.
Right, but it's kind of sad that you lose H2O in that, which wasn't bad, but you know, I mean,
yeah, but I could kind of see why they went this route.
Yeah, no, I think they had to. I mean, now granted, it is a horror franchise. And yes, we know Laurie Strode technically died in Halloween Resurrection, but...
Spoiler alert.
Right. We never saw her buried. She could have easily been like, I don't know, like sat there and sitting... Like, actually, it's funny because I don't think I ever told you this, Tim. I kind of, at one point, I was trying to get like... I wanted to write like a fan fiction of a horror movie, and I decided to go for Halloween. And I had a storyline that was going to... This was after Rob Zombie's... When they first started talking about rebooting it again, but not in the Rob Zombie storyline. Yeah. And I kind of said, well, you know what? You could technically go right after 8. And it turns out that Laurie Strode barely survived, was hanging on for her life, but basically she was confined to a wheelchair. And I said, how cool would that be? Now she is literally in a wheelchair being chased by Michael Myers in some kind of location, not being able to get out of the chair. So she's limited. And I think it would make a cool, like... really like tense horror chase kind of thing. And so that, you know, and that was kind of the thing where he came out of the morgue, obviously, and when they thought he was dead, and you know, boom, 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 and you know, obviously he's alive and he's stalking her somewhere. So that
would be really cool.
Yeah, but obviously they're not going that way, I don't think. But yeah. but you know, I trust the writers. And
no, she looks like she's gonna kick some ass in that picture.
Right, she looks like she didn't age since H2O.
Yeah, she's
at least.
Awesome.
Right. Well, you know what it is? It's all that Activa.
It is.
She's been pounding the Activa,
she's
ready
been eating
for this.
that yogurt. Getting ready.
She's ready. Yeah, she's ready. All I know is that's got to be one of the the most epic news in horror history. I mean,
even my non-horror fans were coming up to me going, "Did you hear Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be back in the new Halloween?" I was like, "Yeah."
I don't think I've ever seen a picture tweeted more.
Oh my god!
On our Twitter page, I just scrolling up. I must have seen it like 100 times that day, and it was great. Of course, we shared it too, but you know, but it was so fun to see, and I was like, oh my god! And I remember Tim had texted me before I even caught your thing. You were like, oh, but she can't be Laurie Strode. Oh my god, she is Laurie Strode. So it's like, so that was so that was obviously I mean. We almost should have saved that for the end because none of the other news kind of compares to that.
Well, the second item might.
It might. You're right. But, I mean, I think we still had to, everyone was going to be like, okay, how did they forget this? You know, so we had to kind of go right off the bat. But, Tim, you take the second one because, like you said, this could be as big.
Okay, so the Friday the 13th reboot that we were all counting on that got torpedoed is apparently back on, and it's coming out in 2020 to mark the 40th anniversary of the original movie. And let's just hope that it's going to be as good as it should be for a 40th anniversary film.
Right. And, they used the term reboot. So whether this is going to be a complete reboot or just another storyline, we don't know where the mythology is yet. We don't know anything about it. I doubt they're going to take what they were going to do, what got canceled. They're probably going to use this. I mean, 2020, they have plenty of time. I think they're going to probably just completely start from scratch and make like just a massive, new story for this. And I'm just hoping they listen to Civil Gore, because like we've said, don't make that mistake. We know how Jason came to be. They don't need to start over. You're never going to get the Pamela story working again unless you just completely go a different thing, and you're maybe like in a book or something. You want to write Pamela's story, put it in a book. You cannot put that on the screen.
No.
What you need to do is you want to start right from where everyone wants to see.
Yeah, everybody knows who Jason is. Even people that aren't into horror know who Jason is. You don't have to go over that anymore.
Right.
It's so dumb. It's like showing the Batman origin again. Like, if you
Right.
don't know where Batman came from at this point, then why are you in a Batman movie?
Yeah, unless you got like dragged along. So so you just need to they just need to pick this up right where everyone wants. Just let them arrive at the camp and
Start killing.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. We want some. I mean, I know I'm gonna sound like a big pervert here, but we want the typical Friday the 13th. We want boobs. We want blood.
The 3
and,
Bs.
Yeah.
I don't know what the third B is. Boobs, blood, and
I don't know. No, we were not prepared for that.
Brain bashing. I don't know.
That'll work.
Yeah.
So we got so we got that to look forward to. I mean, still seems so far away, but
if you have a third B, tweet it to us.
You're right, yeah, and I know we'll probably think of it by the end of the night. I hope, but still, if you think of another one, we'll the third
boobs,
B.
blood, and body count. There you go.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
it. Tim got it. See, I knew we would, but you can still tweet something else if you think of something funnier or better. But that's it. Boobs, blood, and body count. That's the 3 Bs we want.
That's
from Friday the 13th.
patented, by the way. You can't steal that.
Right. That's
Civil Gore trademarked.
Yep, there we go. Kickstarter number 48 or whatever we're up to. We're actually more Kickstarters than episodes at this point, I think.
Yeah.
But
and I'll let you take the next one, Brian, because I know you're really excited about this one.
Yeah, and it's funny because Tim rearranged this, so perfect segue. So speaking of Friday the 13th, the game, which much maligned, depending on who you hear it from, it's either the best game ever or the worst piece of garbage out there. I still love the game. I still play it. And especially with the promise of what's coming, they did a cool thing. They made this retro looking map. Look like almost like one of those game maps that used to come in the video games back in the day. And they called it the content guide. So it basically shows the top of it says Camp Crystal Lake, and the bottom and it's just a road that curves around, and it kind of shows you what was already given, and then it has a little "You Are Here," which shows what you've gotten up to that point, and then it shows about 20 different new things coming. A lot of stuff we knew, like they showed the emotes pack, the spring break clothing pack, the part 4 Jason, and the Jarvis house. But there's some new surprises on here that I did not see coming. Like they said new counselors. We always heard rumors of it, but they never said anything, so that's confirmed. New kills we knew, new clothing, all that. They're bringing back the Virtual Cabin 2.0, which was not available for the consoles, so I don't know if they're still going to continue. That's going to be a Steam exclusive. I hope not.
What is that, Brian?
It was, I don't know completely what it was, but it looked like it was kind of something you could just go in and explore, like it was a cabin or something that you could go in, and I think it was like one big cabin that you could go in, and people were the counselors were hanging out in there. It was kind of like I'm probably not describing this perfectly, but you know what? I read an article on what it was, so I'll link that because that'd probably be the best way to do it. I just knew it was something for Steam, and it was back in the Kickstarter days, like an early thing that they threw out there. Mm-hmm. This is something that I'm so glad, because Tim will tell you, every time we played, I would always say this because it was so hard to get a matchmaking game. They're making offline bots, so you could play a game if you can't find people online to play with. You can just play a game, and they have the AI bots that'll play the game with you, so you can actually have a game. So let's hope there's they're as stupid as some of the people you play with online out there, and they won't be so hard. Then I saw something that I don't know how to feel about this. See, they were always talking about the single player mode. I thought it was going to be a storyline, but they have a thing called single player challenges demo, and then later on the single player challenges. So based on that seems like a couple of like mini modes and not so much a big story mode, which I could be wrong, could still be kind of cool. But we'll have to see what it is. They announced another new map right towards the end of the year, a new Jason, some more new clothing. Then they just write a new game mode. Nothing else other than new game mode, it says. Doesn't have any other details, so that could be interesting. And another new Jason. Now, I have a feeling one of these new Jasons is those blood-splattered versions that the console's getting. So I have a feeling that's what at least one of them is. But you never know. There's still Jason from Part 5 that everyone wants, and a Jason from people were saying they wanted they can't get Jason X, I don't think, because it's due to rights, but they were saying they may be able to get the Freddy vs. Jason, but I'm not sure if they can get either one of those. We'll have to see. And then even yet another new map, so there's a couple of new maps coming out. I always heard the rumor of the ship, the Lazarus map, which I think would be really fun, kind of running on a cruise ship.
That would be
yes. Good. Yeah, so that's a lot of stuff coming. So if you, I think I had shared it anyway on our Facebook page. You can take a better look at that. But yeah, so there's a lot of fun stuff coming for that game. So Friday the 13th has got a good week. It tried to like trump Halloween's big announcement, I tell you.
And in more It news, which had another stellar weekend, by the way, they announced that the Blu-ray release would have an extended edition with 15 minutes of extra footage. Which was really cool, with more Stan. So we called that one.
Right, we did.
You called that one.
Yeah, but it was in our discussion. So it's basically a Civil Gore sanctioned guess, and we got it right. So that's all that I care about.
So that's pretty cool. That'll be a day one purchase for sure.
Oh yeah, as if we weren't going to get that anyway, right?
Speaking of purchases,
yes,
I love my segues.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Sometimes you just work.
Yeah, no, you got it. You aligned this really good. I have to say, Tim did an excellent job moving the run around. You should. And if you weren't in North Carolina, I'd pat your back for you, but a little bit of a stretch. I'll save it for when we go to the meetup, so we'll do that. But okay.
Yeah, so we hit up Target and Walmart this weekend, and Brian found some really cool horror shirts at Walmart, which I think we'd shared that out at one point. Yeah,
I put them all on Instagram, and as Tim said, we may have broke into it. We got so many likes and responses for those. This was one of our best, I think, sequences of posts ever, apparently.
Yeah, apparently people love Walmart shirts.
Yeah, well, I mean, for $7.50, you can't go wrong with those. And the funny thing is, my Halloween shirt, which looked really cool, I noticed in the where the the back where the tag would be, and it has the sizes inside, it actually says the branding. So that one actually said Halloween Resurrection, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, well, so stupid Walmart didn't have any of it. It had the Freddy Jason one, but of course not in my size. And that is Then they had this It one that was kind of dumb. It wasn't the one that you had. It was a Pennywise, but it wasn't nearly as cool as the one that you ended up buying, so I didn't get it.
Well, let me just send me the list, which ones you want. I'll pick them up for you. Especially I'll see you in a few weeks, so I'll just I can bring them over there. Because I'm hitting another Walmart. I'm going to be buying another Walmart tomorrow for some other reasons. I could just pop in. I haven't been into that one yet, so there could be some new finds altogether. So
yeah, I'm hoping ours maybe just haven't gotten them all out yet, because the stores around here are being a little slow on the Halloween.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first one I went into when I found that Freddy and Jason one, that was it. That's all they really had. And they did have one It one, but I don't think it was the one I got. It might be the one you were talking about. And so that's all I got there. It wasn't until I went to the other Walmart that seemed to have the mother load of them. So, and you know how Walmarts are. It depends on the area when their shipments come and what, I guess. And this one's kind of like a really big Walmart and a really big area, the one where I found all those shirts, so that's probably why. So, and plus I can always go back and can pick that one up, pick those up for you, because they had tons of every one of them. I think the only one they had not that many of was just the Freddy one that I had.
Oh yeah.
But just that one. I think the rest they had plenty of, all different sizes. They had tons of larges and mediums and stuff. So
yeah, I ran by Target because they supposedly have those Universal Classic Monster license now, and I was kind of disappointed, but I think it's because they didn't have all their Halloween stuff out. But they've got some, I guess they're kind of cool. They're like these little dome dioramas of Frankenstein. One is Bride of Frankenstein, and one is Frankenstein in front of the burning windmill thing. And if you hit the button, they light up. But they're a little pricey and they look, I mean, like if you look up really close, they're not really like super well painted or anything. So that was kind of disappointing. Like you can tell they're not like high quality. So they also had a Frankenstein like door knocker thing and some kind of mummy animatronic head or something that you push. But again, it's like one of the things where it's very expensive for a prop that's maybe, I don't know. To me, they looked a little bit cheap for the license. But maybe that's just me. I was just kind of disappointed in the quality of them. But, I mean, they're still cool because, like, where do you find something like that? You know, like a Frankenstein scene in a dome. That's kind of neat. Too much for me to pay for this year because I'm on a big Halloween spending spree this year. We're doing the yard up right, so I'm putting all my money into yard decorations.
Oh, right, that's right. You got your ghost set up there.
Yeah, and that's changed a little bit. Now I think we're going to do an inflatable because it's just a lot of bang for your buck, and we have some great lighting going on. So I'll take pictures when we get all that set up. I'm shooting for October 1st. Will be the first day I get everything out there. So.
You know, I know we're not the Ride This One podcast, and we kind of keep it clean. But that if they would have just sampled that line you said, that could have really been misinterpreted when you said, "Yeah, I got the inflatable. This gives me more bang for my buck." So you gotta. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I walked into that one for sure.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you finally saw Hell House LLC.
I did. I wanted to bring my car in. It's due for service, so it's great. The place I bring it to for Subaru, they have really good Wi-Fi. So and they said it was going to be about an hour and a half, perfect timing, and I got the movie in. And actually, I'm really upset with myself that I didn't watch it a while ago because I loved it. You were dead on how good that was.
I knew it'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, and it's funny because you've seen so many found footage movies go, and actually some that are kind of similar to this, yet this managed to be different enough that it was really cool because it almost had this because they kind of went back and forth, so it wasn't like true found footage the whole time. They would go back to the news guy, which I liked though. It was kind of an interesting take on it. Now I'm trying to think if there were other ones that kind of did it that way, or it's truly just usually has the disclaimer in the beginning, like 12 years ago, these people went missing. Here's their tapes. I kind of like how it went back and forth, kind of like you were watching, like if this was on TV, right, and just showing on TV, and you flipped it onto the channel in the middle of it. At first, you may think you were watching like a documentary or something.
Yeah, it's kind of pieced together like a documentary. That's a good term for it.
Yeah, and it was, and some of the acting was a little like the guy with the beard cracked me up. He was so into it, but it was really cool, and it had some really like creepy sequences in there. And really, if you think about it, they didn't use many effects. They didn't really need to. They did it all by just the camera angles and just cuts and stuff, and it was just really cool. I liked it. So yeah, and of course the sequel is coming out. I think it's next year, right? I think it's just called Hell House LLC Abandoned Hotel. So it sounds like almost like it's like a prequel. Kinda.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that turned me off of that movie was the title, because I was like, that sounds like so generic. Hell House LLC, but don't let that fool you. It's a really good movie. Right.
Yeah. I think it's still on Amazon Prime, so you can see that. So yeah, I would definitely check that out. I could see that being a really fun movie to put in like your Halloween rotation. There's a couple I like to watch every year around the October, like the original Halloween. I love to watch Trick or Treat. I've added Tales from Halloween in there. So I think this one might be one in there. And also the other one, Houses That October Built. I kind of like throwing that in there too.
Yeah, speaking of which,
that's got a sequel, right?
That's coming out. Well, we'll talk about that soon. But we are going to put together our October horror movie challenge.
Oh, right.
Coming up. We're not going to talk about it this episode because I think we're still finalizing the list. But we're going to have a movie a day October horror movie challenge for you guys in time for October. So you'll have that list that you can play along.
And we're kind of doing a little fun. Like there's a lot of it kind of themed, especially for listeners for the podcast. There's a couple of like jokes kind of things in there that are kind of fun, that are kind of catered towards this podcast specifically, and not just a generic horror list. So it should be kind of fun.
Yep. And speaking of movies, that's not my best segue.
No, but it works.
I watched one. I actually watched a couple on Shudder. The first one is BERBERIAN Sound Studio from 2013.
That sounds like a weird new wave band, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But this one, it was on my list because it was fairly critically acclaimed when it came out, and it stars Toby Jones, who I absolutely love. Toby Jones, and he plays a sound mixer or Foley artist, I guess you could say, who is in Italy to work on a film, to do sound effects for a film. And when he arrives there, he realizes that this, even though the director claims this is not a horror movie, it's got elements of witchcraft and torture and all this stuff. So he's doing these sound effects for all these horrible things, right?
Was this on Shudder?
Yes, it's on Shudder.
I think I was actually reading the synopsis for this the other day. I was going through trying to look for something, and
yeah. So it's a very, and I don't want to say, I hate to say artsy because it always has a negative connotation, but it's a very artistic and very, very, very slow burn movie. So if you're not into that, you may not enjoy it. Toby Jones is brilliant in it, as he is in most everything he does. But it's very much not, I wouldn't say horror. It's very much more of a psychological thriller. And I have to say, I wish I liked it more. I really wanted to like it more than I actually did. But it's, that slow burn never really pays off. And even though it's definitely creepy and unsettling, especially if you watch it in the dark with the sound cranked up, because obviously a movie called BERBERIAN Sound Studio is very sound focused.
right.
So most of the tension and atmosphere comes from the sound effects. Even though I enjoyed that aspect of it and I liked the premise of it, it just never quite gelled for me. But it's one of those I almost feel like a second viewing, I might like it better.
I have to check it out, see what I think of it.
Yeah, I just don't know if I'm up to a second viewing of it.
Well, I heard they're making a sequel, right? It's Conan the Barbarian.
Conan the Barbarian.
Did I get that right?
Studio.
Okay. Oh boy, that was a bad one.
I was about to do an Arnold impression, which would have made it even worse. So
oh god,
spared that. But the next one I really did enjoy, and this one was called Road Games. It's also on Shudder, and
I meant to watch this the other night too because I saw it on there, and it was like one of those highlighted.
Yeah, because they came out and they said this was apparently hard to find at some point, and I always make it a point if Shudder says this was a rare or hard to find movie, I try to go check it out. And this one is from 1981 and stars Stacy Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis. And Stacy Keach is one of those actors that I've always kind of looked at as a non-leading man, kind of just like this side character guy.
Yeah.
Kind of almost
or like the bumbling cop or something.
Yeah, maybe slightly above character actor, but man, he is awesome in this movie. He is completely brilliant in this movie, and he carries the film. And it's about, and I wouldn't classify this one as horror either. It's very much just a thriller, a Hitchcockian thriller at that. But Stacy Keach plays an American truck driver who is working in Australia delivering meat, and with his faithful what do they call those things? Not a coyote, it's a dingo.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Oh yeah, the dingo ate your baby.
But so he drives around in his truck with this dingo, and he basically comes into contact with who he thinks is a serial killer. And then what ensues is this game of cat and mouse on the highway with this serial killer. And one of the hitchhikers he ends up picking up is, of course, Jamie Lee Curtis. But this movie is very, very influenced by Hitchcock. In fact, there's one shot where you see somebody is riffling through some magazines, and one of them is the Alfred Hitchcock magazine. So it was very obvious what the director was going for.
Yeah, I heard someone said they compared it to like parts of The Duel also.
Yeah, very much so. And the real Hitchcockian element comes in play with the dialogue. It's very snappy and very clever, and it's just a very entertaining movie. It's very witty at times for a thriller. I really liked it. You definitely need to check this one out. It's the best role I've ever seen Stacy Keach in, personally, for me. And Jamie Lee Curtis is great in it, even though she doesn't have a huge role. But yeah, check it out. Road Games, 1981. Really cool.
I have to check that out. Oh, and should say do a shout out to actually our listener Cody. She told me that she emailed us and said that the Bates Motel, I guess all seasons are on Netflix. So,
yes.
So I can, great. Yeah, which was good because we were asking. I mean, I thought I looked. I must have looked really quickly because I didn't see it. But then I checked after she told us. So that's good. So thank you again, Cody, because now I gotta have to catch up with Tim on seeing those. I'll watch those. He can watch Twin Peaks, and I'm
still slogging my way through. I hate to say slog because I'm very much enjoying it, but so it's not a slog. But
I just can't wait till you get up to the new series.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to desperately get through season 2. For the Dismemberment this week, we have a pretty big rundown. So we'll kind of go through these a little quicker because we've actually talked about a couple of these.
Yeah, this first one definitely.
Yeah, so the first one was 47 Meters Down. This is, of course, the girls trapped underwater genre that I was trying to promote.
Mandy Moore, right?
Yeah. Two sisters vacationing in Mexico are trapped in a shark cage at the bottom of the ocean with less than an hour of oxygen left and great white sharks circling nearby. They must fight to survive. It's
almost like twice the fun of the Shallows.
Yeah. It's like,
you get 2 women in bikinis in this one.
Yeah, but like I said before when we talked about it, it's fairly good. It's good for a rental. I don't know if I necessarily need to own it, but it's worth watching.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it. I am going to be probably curbing my budget just a little bit, obviously with the holidays coming up. So this may be one that, unless it was really, really cheap, I would probably just, I'd probably wait on it or something. Because I could see this one being on like one of those $7.99 Best Buy ones in about a couple of months.
Plus, I like Mandy Moore.
Yeah, no, I mean, she hasn't done anything that I dislike. So it's, I know it's going to be at least to have some sort of merit to it.
Yep. The next one up is, man, I got to see this one. This was After Midnight, 1989, Scream Factory release with a new HD transfer horror anthology about. Oh yeah, this is Brian's pick of the week. Sorry, I just stole your thunder.
No, it's okay. And the thing is, I know I had said that we're trying to do pick of the weeks that we've actually seen or something, and I have not seen this, but it just sounds like something so cool. So that's why it's my pick of the week.
Yeah, so I wanted to preface that because this summary is like a novel length summary. Whoever wrote this, but it's a horror anthology about a college professor teaching a course called The Psychology of Fear. He brings his students, including Psychic McWhirter, to his home.
The names in this.
One dark and stormy night. Thanks for the cliche. To tell scary stories. The first involves a young couple whose car breaks down by an old abandoned house. The second has 4 trendy teenage girls getting lost in a bad part of town. And
how trendy in 1989 could you have been, right? What is that? Everyone wore the same thing in the 80s. What's trendy?
And they're chased by a pack of vicious dogs. So
that's a new twist, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of Cujos. I don't know.
It got from girls being chased by sharks to girls being chased by dogs.
Yeah, why not, right?
Last we have Helgenberger.
Now, who is that? Is it Marg Helgenberger?
I don't know.
Like when you wrote that, I looked at it and I'm like, wait a minute, did I miss something? Is that the professor? Is that Marg Helgenberger?
That's why I love these summaries. They're so vague.
Yeah, they expect us to know who Helgenberger is from the site.
Confronting a stalker at the answering service where she works the night shift. What is an answering service? Is that an 89?
Yeah, no, that was back in the day. It was basically it was like usually doctors or psychiatrists or psychologists. They would have these answering services where, because if you lifted just a voicemail on someone that needs to get into, not a voicemail,
like
kind of like
call thing.
Right. Yeah. So you'd call and they would then transfer, they would get a hold of the doctor if it was deemed an emergency or transfer to whoever was on call for them. So it was but some people just chose to do it anyway because they didn't want to buy an answering machine. Because back then, remember, answering machines were like those giant blocky, pretty expensive things, and they were like, they had the weird tapes in them, and and stuff. So I guess that's what it was. But yeah, I put that as pick of my week because first of all, as you know, we love anthologies, and this one just sounded kind of neat.
It sounds cool. I want to see it.
Yeah, like it just seems like, and plus Scream Factory's releases are always fun, so that's why I made that pick, because that's one I could see myself going and buying blind and just saying, you know what, I'm gonna give this one a shot.
Yeah, I really may be picking this one up blind. I think it's any anthology. I'm just nuts over. So
yeah, and
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and whenever we get that, we will report back to who Helkenberger is.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, the next one up is one that we talked about recently. I think it was a limited theatrical release or something.
Yeah.
And it's called "It Stains the Sands Red" from 2016. In the throes of a zombie apocalypse, a troubled woman. I've always heard the throes of passion, but not the zombie apocalypse. But anyway, if that's your thing, maybe
she's passionate about zombie apocalypses.
In the throes of a zombie apocalypse, a troubled woman from Las Vegas. Aren't all women from Las Vegas just a little bit troubled?
Yeah, and especially, what makes her more troubled than anyone else in the middle of a zombie apocalypse?
Well,
why
she
is
has
she
a
more
dark
troubled?
past, Brian.
Oh, I see. Okay, you're right, because, yeah,
she finds herself stranded in the desert with a lone and ravenous zombie on her tail. So.
Now, okay, all right, you're in a desert, right? Nothing to hide behind.
Yeah.
And even if these are those fast zombies, you could see where he is at all times. That can't be that hard to get away from him.
I guess you have to watch it. I've actually heard fairly good things about this one. As much as we pick on it, we've picked on it 2 episodes now. Yeah. I actually have heard fairly good things. So
I know, this poor movie.
Give it a chance. Don't be, give it a chance, because it's
right.
probably actually pretty good.
Plus, I feel bad. The woman's troubled, and here I go making fun of her. So.
Yeah, the dark past.
Yeah.
Gosh. And the next is Killer Barbies.
Yeah, you have to say it like that, right? I guess
I'm not a good Australian. Killer Barbies.
But yeah, so is it like is that what it's? But because it says in your notice it's the countryside of Spain.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with Australia.
Oh, okay.
I might be wrong.
Well, at first I was like, did Tim just misspell Barbies, like the dolls? Like it's gonna be like a killer doll movie? But no, I don't.
I just read it when I first saw it. I just read it in an Australian accent because it said Barbies. I don't even know what that is. Was that barbecue? Is that what that is? Australian
Barbie? Yeah, when they say shrimp on the Barbie. Yeah,
shrimp on the Barbie. Anyway, this is from Redemption, 1996. Killer Barbies new restoration commentary. While driving on tour late night through a lonely road in the countryside of Spain, the van of the punk band Killer Barbies has an accident and breaks down. A creepy old man invites the group to spend the night in the castle of Countess von Fledermaus and presents himself as her secretary Arkan.
What?
Arkan explains that the mechanic is located 62 kilometers far from the location, and he tells that the Countess loves youths.
This is a very specific
specific summary here.
Yeah.
Flavia, Rafa, and Mario.
I know, what is it? The Joint Chiefs of Costa Radio is starring in this movie?
Apparently. Flava.
I know most of you won't get that, but all the listeners of Costa Radio will probably be hysterical with that one.
Oh my god. Flava, Rafa, and Mario accept the invitation, but Billy and Sharon stay shagging in the van.
Huh. Well, I guess,
Oh, that's dancing.
Oh,
shagging. When in North Carolina, shagging means dancing. That's a beach music.
Yeah, but see,
dance.
Matt from Yorkshire would disagree.
Yeah,
if he heard this,
Well, we had some British sailors come in from the British Navy, and they were all taking their pictures beside this sign that said "free shag lessons."
Oh God.
So so they found that hilarious.
I have to say, I probably would take a picture in front of that too. Yeah.
When the musician, this is still going, by the way.
I know, it's still more.
When the musicians meet the Countess, they find that she is the ancient artist Olga Lycan, and they question how she could keep so young. But sooner they discover that the Countess needs blood of young people to keep her beauty.
Okay, first of all, this has a mix of like 17 other plots.
I know.
Of other movies. But wait a minute, so she's Countess von Fledermaus, then she's Arkan, then she's Olga Corbett or whatever. Oh, Lycan. She's gymnast. I made her have gymnastic degree now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Well, who is she? This is strange. But yeah, what the worst part about it is that I think I have to see this now.
I know. Well, they do a great job. Those IMDb people with these summaries. They just
this one has got to win the award for most specific
62
detailed
kilometers.
thing without actually giving the whole thing away. Like, you figure with this big of a thing, though, you wouldn't have to see it at all, but it makes me want to see it.
But it's funny. It's like if I was reading this and I went, "Oh, they didn't give how far away she was. I'm not watching this movie."
I know, I know, right? Like, I love that they get 62 kilometers. Like, why? 62? They couldn't round? What is? It's so random.
Oh man. Okay, the next one is Lycan. Not like the moss or the like Lycan moss, Lychen. This is Lycan, Lycen, like
yes.
werewolf Lycan.
Right, like what's the one, the underworld? Like,
Yeah, underworld Lycan. When
yeah.
6 college kids in a sleepy southern town, they're all sleepy. I live down here. They're all sleepy.
Oh,
When 6 college kids in a sleepy southern town are assigned a group project to rediscover a moment in history, one of them sets in motion a horrific fate when he proposes they head into the Georgia backwoods to tackle the legend of Emily Burt, the Talbot County werewolf.
Okay, it's kind of like a werewolf version of Blair Witch, isn't it?
Yeah. Lycan is a Hitchcockian tale of horror.
Huh.
Set in 1986 that delves into a 100-year-old fable where our students are met with very real consequences that go beyond any classroom lessons.
Now, they would miss a very huge opportunity if they didn't have the tagline, "What I like about you." But, okay, sorry. That's just me. I don't know. That's terrible. Boy, I think this may be the fastest people turn off this show in history.
Yeah.
We're not even through the
This is where Civil Gore jumps
dismemberment.
the shark.
Yeah.
Anyway, that one actually was a very good write-up. I enjoyed that write-up.
Actually, yeah, that one was pretty good. And it actually sounds kind of like an interesting thing. Yeah, I mean, yes, okay, it sounds like a Blair Witch? Sure, but it's a wolf, so, it's different.
I just like the sound of that Talbot County werewolf. That's got a good ring to it. Speaking of good rings, how about Orgy of the Dead? 1965. From Vinegar Syndrome. A new 2K restoration, commentary, and featurettes. John and his girlfriend Shirley. Surely you can't be serious.
I know. I was gonna let you take that one.
Well.
See, Tim and I have become so close over the course of the years, and now doing the podcast that we kind of like mind meld each other jokes back and forth. And so I kind of like said, "No, you take that one." So.
Oh, sorry. John and his girlfriend Shirley go in search of a cemetery in order to inspire John for writing his next horror story. After they crash the car.
Like that, it almost sounds like that was predetermined. Like
so
they were going to crash this car.
After they crash the car, they wander into the graveyard and encounter the dancing dead, a full moon spectacle overseen by the ruler of the dark. Before long, the couple is spotted and taken prisoner. Tied to stakes and forced to watch the dancing, they await their fate.
So is the dancing really bad? Is that why? Because I could tell you the punishment would be someone forcing to watch me dance because I have no rhythm whatsoever. So that could be a punishment.
Part of me wonders if the torture is forcing you to watch this movie. I don't know. It's 1965. Yeah. This could be like, there's some of those 60s movies that's just like naked people dancing.
Yeah.
For like very extended sequences.
Right.
I just have a feeling that goes on for like 40 minutes too long.
Yeah. Where is this from? It says Vinegar Syndrome, but it doesn't say. Did it say what country this is from?
I'm sure it does. I just didn't put it down.
Yeah, because that could tell, because if it's one of those, like, as we know, those Italian horror films from around that time have been pretty obscure. So if that's that one, so
it sounds like it. This next one kind of sounds like a perfect double feature.
Yeah, this has got to be a Vinegar Syndrome double feature. Yeah.
This was a Vinegar Syndrome as well. Psychos in Love, 1987. A new 2K restoration, commentaries, and featurettes. A strip joint owner and a manicurist find that they have many things in common.
Yeah, because they both like to nail.
Man. Yeah, I was about to say, where these punchlines write themselves? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I got to start that over. A strip joint owner. How many punchlines can we make? We did that Saturday Night Live thing where they come up with as many punchlines as they can. A strip joint owner and a manicurist find that they have many things in common. The foremost being that they are psychotic serial killers. Yeah.
Okay.
They fall in love and are happy being the family that slays together.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Until one day they come up against a plumber who also happens to be a cannibal.
There's a lot of people with dual roles,
Yeah.
In this must be this town must have the best Rotary Club ever. Can you imagine that? It's like, so I need a plumber, but he also has to eat people.
Yeah.
Do you have anybody for me? You know, what kind of this is hilarious.
I can't stand when you find out that somebody you hire for a job also eats people.
Right?
It
yeah,
sucks.
I mean, you know, you offer them a drink of water and they take the water and your arm. You know, it's
Yeah.
like,
Well,
wow.
my plumber did cost me an arm and a leg.
Oh,
Ah,
that was a good one. I like that one though.
Okay.
Nicely done, Tim.
Oh my gosh.
And we still have more.
Losing
We didn't even get to
listeners.
Tim's pick of the week yet. Look at this.
We're losing listeners at an astonishing rate.
Yeah,
Okay.
please stick in. We do have a movie coming up, believe it or not. We're going to review.
RedNet 2016. A hacker looking for a missing man. Okay, this is one of those that is in completely broken English, so I'm just
Yeah.
going to read it as it was written because that's the most entertaining part.
Yeah.
A hacker looking for a missing man. What he finds out are videos in which the man is questioned and tortured till he drops by two mysterious women.
I don't understand that.
I
I'm
don't-
reading it along with you, and I still don't understand the way that described it.
Okay.
Although they did use a comma, at
Yeah,
least somewhere in
there's
there.
a comma. It's like they threw a comma randomly in this sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm taking it the hacker's looking for a missing man, but he finds out videos in which I'm assuming the missing man is questioned and
Right.
tortured.
But I don't understand till he drops by two mysterious women. What does that mean?
Oh wait, tortured till he drops. The man is questioned and
Oh,
tortured till
by
he drops.
see, there's the commas in the wrong spot.
Yeah, so the two mysterious women are torturing this man
Oh, okay.
until he
See?
drops. It's like shopping till you drop. He's being tortured till he drops.
Yeah, see, they were just look. That's where the random comma came back to bite him because
Yeah.
it's in the wrong spot.
And the next one you have to read in a Vincent Price voice. So, and this is not a very good Vincent Price, but it's Vincent Price-esque.
It's
So-
yeah.
The Dead Next Door Collector's Edition, new 2K restoration, commentaries, featurettes, tons of extras. An elite anti-zombie team is assembled by the government to cope with an ever-growing undead infection and the religious cult zealots who fanatically protect the festering foes.
That was pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
That's passable.
It was kind of got a little Crypt Keeperish there for a minute, but
Yeah, but you know, it was kind of like he may not have been the true Vince, but more like Vince Price. You know, like when he was like kind of casual.
Vincent half price.
Yeah. Oh God. We got him on sale, so he wasn't full Vincent Price.
I just wanted to say festering foes like that. Sorry, but anyway,
We
that
could
was
just
the Dead
keep
Next
saying
Door.
that once an episode. You know?
Yeah. And then we come to my pick of the week, which is, of course, Bride of ReAnimator, 1989, an Arrow Steelbook edition with a new audio commentary, so this is worth a double dip, possibly.
Well, I have to get it because I just bought the
it's
ReAnimator nice set. I'm gonna have to have a nice Bride of ReAnimator to go with the.
When I read this, it says Doctors Herbert West and Dan Kane. I read it as Dean Kane. I was like, what? Superman's?
I know he was in that.
Doctors
He's
Herbert...
a chiller though.
Yeah, that's right. Doctors Herbert West and Dan Kane discover the secret to creating human life and proceed to create a perfect woman from dead tissue. So if you're a ReAnimator fan, obviously this is a must-buy. That's why I put that as my pick of the week. That's a great sequel. And then we got a couple of 4 theatrical releases. Some of these are limited, I believe.
Yeah, they're making up for
Jeez.
well, those couple of weeks with nothing.
Yeah. Well, the first one up is I think the one we kind of both were. A
Yeah,
little
I said
iffy
it was
on.
wrong. I said it was Unfriended. Unfriended came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, though.
Yeah, but this one, it seems like it's very, very similar.
Yeah, so it's called Friend Request. This is your wide release for this week. A popular college student graciously accepts a social outcast online friend request, but soon finds herself fighting a demonic presence that wants to make her lonely by killing her closest friends.
Yeah, I don't know. This one just, I mean, you know, this could be fine in the end as like
got it.
But I mean, I'm sorry, but compared with it and the other stuff it looks like we got coming, I think this just, I don't know. I think this is going to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. Now, the next one we're both
I
very
can't
much
wait.
looking forward to. This one is coming out in limited theatrical release and VOD. So if it's not playing around here, I'm definitely going to get it on VOD. This is, of course, The House is October Built 2. I almost don't want to read this summary because it's a little spoilery.
Right, yeah. Let's skip the summary because because if you haven't seen the original, this kind of basically gives it away. So not that it's this big mystery, but you know how found footage things, they usually build up to the end of what happened.
Yeah,
and that one builds really well. So I'd hate to kind of
Yeah, don't go read the summary on IMDb if you want to be surprised by that one.
Yeah, just go. I know the first one. I think it's still on Netflix. I just saw it the other day. It's on Netflix, Amazon, or one of those two. It's not on Shudder. It's on one of the other two, Amazon Prime or Netflix. So definitely, I tell you, do yourself a favor, go watch that, though. It's really good. And actually, the Blu-ray, I think, has the original documentary that the movie was based on on there, too, which I watched. They're both excellent. And I remember this was well before... it was funny. It's actually, Tim, I think it was the first year we had met. It was a couple of months after... when this came out after the Cedar Point meetup, and I think it was right before we were going to Carowinds, I think, where I discovered this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, Tim, you got to see, because we had one of the things we talked about is obviously our mutual love of coasters, but also of Halloween and haunts and everything. And when I saw that this thing was coming out, I immediately told Tim and Kevin, I'm like, you got to see this. This is going to be good.
If you're a haunt fan, this is a great movie. Just like Hell House is a great horror movie for haunt fans.
Yeah, and this one, those two back to back. I mean, those would make a fun double feature to watch one Halloween. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. The next one up is Happy Hunting. An alcoholic drifter must battle withdrawal and psychotic rednecks. Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, after he becomes two things at once. It's tough.
After he becomes the target of a deranged sporting event. So
it almost sound, it almost sounds like a Island of Dr. Moreau meets Wrong Turn. Doesn't it?
Yeah, or Hunger Games meets Wrong Turn. Yeah,
yeah.
Right. Island of Dr. Moreau is probably more accurate, but
that's kind of what it's. But I mean, it still could be pretty fun. It'd be a fun movie. I'm not saying I should rush out and see that.
Yeah, it's got happy in the title, so it's got to be fun.
Yeah, right. It's got to be something.
The other one is the last one on the list is Welcome to Willits. Deep in the Northern California woods, in the heart of the notorious Emerald Triangle, lies a remote cabin. The residents struggle to fight off the repeated attacks and abductions by mysterious creatures that have plagued them for years. When a local pot farmer is caught up with a wayward group of campers, the situation quickly escalates into total carnage.
Huh. Willits, though. What is that? Is that the area? I don't.
What you talking about, Willits?
I know, but oh God. Yeah. I don't know. This one. I mean, I don't know. It almost seems like if it's not found footage, that would be a found footage. I could see that being. I don't know.
That's got to be a limited release.
There's nothing.
True for Welcome to Willits?
I know.
You're the only person who spot this.
Well, that's like one of the stations, the stops on like when you go see the Met game. It's a Willits Point, and so it's like that's what I'm thinking. Everything's spelled a little different, but that's all I got. So I'm thinking of like baseball now, watching this. So it's probably not a good sign when you're like thinking of everything but the actual movie they're trying to get you to see. So.
I hate making fun of movies just based off literally their name. So, anyway, that's what we do here. So.
Yeah,
but let's get to our feature film. This is, of course, Cat's Eye from 1985, directed by Louis Teague, written by Stephen King. This is an original screenplay, and starring James Woods, Drew Barrymore, and Alan King. Yes. Louis Teague is, of course, the director of Cujo, which was fantastic, and also one of my favorite horror movies as a kid, and one that we absolutely have to cover one week, and that is 1980's Alligator.
Oh, right. We got to see that. And we mentioned that once already.
Yeah, and how I've told you that, I think my first horror movie was Boggy Creek.
Right.
One of the Boggy Creeks. This actually may have been my first, now that I think about it.
Oh, wow.
And I had just totally forgotten it. But I don't know that for sure, but it very well could have been, because I remember watching this as a little kid.
Yeah, this is the one with the alligator in the sewer, kind of.
Yeah, and it freaked me out.
And it's funny, there's an interesting tie if you think about it, because remember Drew Barrymore's line in E.T. when she was like, alligators in the sewers. They were talking about that, so look at that, like weird 6 degrees of separation going on throughout this movie.
Louis Teague was also known for Jewel of the Nile, which was the Romancing the Stone follow-up. I have not seen those movies in forever.
Oh my god!
Ever? Yeah. Oh my gosh!
I saw that in the theater.
Oh yeah, I did too. Yeah, I did too. I remember. I went and saw both of those in the theater.
Those are fun movies.
Yeah.
They and he's coming. Apparently he's coming out with his biography. It's called A Teague of Their Own. But all right, that was bad. I'm sorry. I felt left out. I hadn't told to pay a.
We're just full of it tonight. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was bad. Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Well, it should.
We better get on to this movie because now we have about one or two listeners left tops.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah, I know.
thanks for
I wish I
staying
could
with
say that. My own mom doesn't listen. So I don't know. Oh no,
Anyway.
she did that. I showed her out because she did say, she goes, "What's this podcast thing, and how do I buy it?" So,
Yeah.
so I told her it was, it's funny when you do say podcast to some people that don't know, they immediately think like, what station is it on, or how do I buy it? It's kind of funny.
You have people that know what a podcast is, and you have people that think you might have said, well, listen to my snarfblat, and they're like,
I know,
what?
yeah.
Like, they look at you like you've grown another head. They have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're like, what's a podcast?
Yeah.
So,
But anyway,
yeah.
and then when I tell people I'm on iTunes, they go, oh, you're on iTunes? What? Like you have to be famous to get on iTunes.
Yeah,
You don't
it's so
have to.
funny how many things can actually be on iTunes.
Yeah. All you have to do is say, hey, can you put my podcast on iTunes? And Apple goes, sure.
And then wait 24 hours and boom,
wait
there it
24
is.
hours. Hey, sure, dude. Here's your podcast, man. Rock on.
Oh, and by
roll.
the way, you said a bad word, so now you get the explicit tag.
Yeah. Anyway. Oh, gosh. Okay, so this is, of course, an anthology film. Features 3 Stephen King stories. 2 of them are based on actual short stories. The first one up, we'll just talk about that one as we get to them. But the first one is called Quitters, Inc. And stars James Wood, who plays Dick Morrison, who tries to quit smoking by using this mysterious clinic called Quitters, Inc. And turns out they use some extreme and unconventional methods to force their clients to quit smoking.
Yeah, because basically you find out that the company is basically a laundering scheme for the mob. And it's like they lost their I guess their head mob boss to smoking, so they kind of figured as Alan King says, he goes, yes, our methods may be, it's a good way to pay to something like that, to funnel the money, but he goes, but we really just want to help people. So it's kind of funny. So there's like this dual thing, and it's Alan King is so perfect in that because obviously he was known primarily for comedy, but he's done that kind of mobster gangster type of role. He was in Casino. He did.
Yeah.
So he kind of has that thing, but he also has it with such a hint of comedy, and pretty much every line he had in this and scene was hilarious. Just even when he was supposed to be serious, there was this tinge of comedy in it, because he was it's Alan King, so.
Yeah. Well, one thing, I totally apologize for this, but I got a little ahead of ourselves because we didn't talk about the wraparound. Because you're first introduced to the wraparound. And the wraparound is basically this cat who is running around and kind of appearing in each of these stories.
Right.
And the intro of this movie I had totally forgotten has a couple of Easter eggs for Stephen King fans.
Oh my God, does it ever? Throughout the movie,
throughout the movie, but early on the cat is chased by Cujo during the opening credits.
In a big sequence. Like it wasn't like a quick little oh, there goes Cujo kind of thing. It's the whole premise to the opening few minutes.
And then there's a really great segment where the cat runs by this car, and it's the 58 Plymouth Christine.
Right, it even has the bumper sticker in case you weren't sure.
Yeah,
it says, I am Christine.
Yeah, it's like, in case somebody doesn't get this.
Yeah.
We'll get to the other Easter eggs when we get to those segments, but there's a couple of other ones that they throw in here. But it's really weird because I believe I had read that there was a scene cut from the wraparound that explains the cat's motivations a little bit more.
Yes, there was. Yeah, I was just going to say that too. Yeah, there was a whole, I don't know if they filmed it and they just cut it out or what they did, but yeah, there was a whole thing about the mythology on why this cat was.
Because at one point the cat is staring up at this window at a mannequin, and the mannequin turns into Drew Barrymore somehow.
Right. And she's another one that appears in each segment too.
Yeah.
She's almost like a wraparound kind of.
Yeah, and she's like, you have to help me, and it's like she's begging this cat for help. It makes no sense. It's completely bizarre, but apparently at some point this was explained, but it's not actually. It didn't make it to the final.
But
cut.
You know what though, it didn't even matter to me because this was one of my favorite movies to watch when I was like growing up. When it was ever on cable, I watched it every time it was on.
I don't think reviewers really minded either because I read a positive review from the week it came out where they were like, just, oh yeah, it's a mysterious plea from this young girl. They just kind of glossed over it. So
yeah, at some level it still works because
it works. Yeah,
it works. It's because it's there's, like I said, even though it's Stephen King, it's hard, but there's this comedy little comedic thing going through it all, you know. So it's the tongue-in-cheek humor that he has sometimes. So it's.
But anyway, so the cat finds himself in, I believe this is in New York, right?
Yeah, the first one's
in New York. So and James Wood, of course, is trying to quit smoking at this clinic that we were discussing, and this was based on a short story, Quitters Inc., that Stephen King wrote or published in 1978. So it's an early work.
What book was that in? Do you know?
I don't remember. It might have been one of that was just. He had several stories that were just published in magazines. I know.
Oh, okay,
I believe The Ledge, which is the second segment, was published in Penthouse or Playboy, one of those. So it may have just been one of those standalones. I'm not quite positive.
That makes sense. Because I never even knew that it was like I knew he wrote it, but I never thought it was an official story per se. I thought he might have just wrote it for the movie.
But there's a bridge that James Wood drives over in the beginning that you guys might recognize from Maximum Overdrive, because Cat's Eye was filmed in my hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Which is amazing how they brought it all the way to New York for the sequence.
Yeah, but he drives over the Isabel Holmes Bridge, which is of course the one that goes up in Maximum Overdrive, and all the cars fly off, and the AC/DC van gets smashed, and all that kind of stuff. So.
And actually, remember, it goes up in this one too. It's up when they get there.
Yeah,
it's kind of like he must have a thing for that bridge, and it's staying up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's because that one's a lot easier to bring up than the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge, which is a night traffic nightmare.
Is that the?
That's probably the reason they
bridge
filmed
still there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's still there. Okay, where was I? So anyway, James Woods decides to hire this agency to help him quit smoking, and I don't know if we're going really spoilery here or we're just kind of giving a general overview. But one of the first things he's introduced to is our poor little cat, who we met earlier, is placed in a room with some music playing. I think it was what was the song they were playing? One of the oldies. And basically is electrocuted.
Was this the one was this the one that had no music to it? Because there was one when later on she was in there. And
the cat had music too. I think it was Twist and Shout.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the other one that went, that other one was playing.
Yeah, 96 Tears was the woman.
Right.
Anyway, so he has her in this room with this basically electric shock therapy. The cat's jumping on these grates, and of course, poor James Woods is horrified. But it kind of shows to the extremes that this agency will take to prevent you from smoking.
Right, like they basically use the fact that they're going to punish those you care about every time you take a cigarette, and like I think it gets at the end they imply that like your third time you fail, I guess you're going to get shot.
Yeah, and they have people watching you everywhere.
Right, everywhere, and they basically say, what was the line he said? He goes, you're going to see some of the people some of the time, you're going to see none of them some of the people all the time, but you're never going to see all the people all the time. I love that line. It's so great.
There's a party sequence where James Woods is at this party where everybody's smoking. Like, and, of course, he's quit at this point. And it's just full of people smoking and socializing and stuff. And he starts having these like crazy hallucinations of, people with smoke coming out of their ears and this kind of thing. But there's a kind of quick segment in which there's this kid, and he's seen earlier in the scene holding a tray of hors d'oeuvres or something. And you see this little kid smoking a cigarette with this other girl.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that kid was in my kindergarten class.
That's funny.
His name's Brett. He used to be an extra in a lot of movies back then. So I remembered him from because I think 85. I was 11 at this point. So we were in some of the same classes in elementary school at the time. So
was he the one holding the deviled egg tray with the eyeballs? Like that?
Yeah, that was him. Yeah,
I love that. So and then there's one of the other ones. We were talking about some of the Easter eggs. He's at one point James Wood is watching The Dead Zone. And the funniest thing is he gets up because he's all tense because he quit smoking and he's all upset that he got signed up, and his wife's like what's the matter? And he goes, I can't follow this thing anyway. Who writes this crap? It's kind of a funny little nod. Obviously, it was Stephen King. Yeah, so it's kind of funny.
James Woods, his politics are a little wacky, but I just love him in movies because one of my favorite James Woods lines of all time was in John Carpenter's Vampires. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Which he was probably the best part of that entire movie.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where he's in the truck driving with the priest, and he goes, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he's like, hey, Padre, can I ask you something? Yeah, sure, what? He's like, I was kicking your ass back there. Did you get a little mahogany? A little ebony? Get a little wood? And that scene, like, for some reason has stuck in my mind. And to this day, me and my buddies still use that line, did you get a little mahogany? For for anything in which somebody might have gotten a little excited about something. So
That's awesome. I may steal that now. Actually.
yeah, get a little mahogany.
It was funny. I just remembered too. It's technically there's a little 6 degrees of separate. Well, 1 degree really. It's like him and Alan King both were in Casino.
Oh,
So
there you go.
Yeah, there's another little kind of funny thing that they ended up being in the same movie. There you go.
Yeah, but this is a fun little segment.
Yeah. This is and this one I remember as a kid. This one this one kind of reminded me a little bit of like Twilight Zone-ish.
Yeah, I was about to say it's very Tales from the Crypt-y.
Right.
It very much has the feel of one of those TV anthology episodes.
Yeah, this is like true anthology like storyline. It was like because like to make a good anthology, you need a topic that's kind of succinct. You don't want it to drag on too long because you can only have it go so long. So you need to kind of keep it moving. And they did this one really well like that. They just, you kind of they opened up the thing. They set it up. You knew what was going on. They had a couple of, funny moments, a couple of freaky moments. And then, boom, they hit you with the finale. And, it was like the perfect timed sequence. It was really, really, like, perfectly done for an anthology film.
Yeah, the second segment, when I sat down to rewatch this, I did not remember much about. And I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. But this one is called The Ledge. It's based off a short story that Stephen King published in 1976. Again, this is one I think was published in Penthouse or Playboy. I don't know. I get my nudie mags mixed up. So it's one or the other. But
that'd be a fun way to find out by going through all of them.
Yeah, go through the back issues.
Yeah.
The great Robert Hayes of which I can't look at without thinking of Airplane. But anyway.
Right. I mean, how could you ever? It's like he's always going to be Ted Stryker. Yeah.
But anyway, he plays Johnny Norris, and he's having an affair with the married wife of a casino owner and crime boss, which is always a bad idea.
Yep.
The crime boss is named Kressner. I don't know if they ever gave his first name, but
yeah, no, I don't think they did.
But Kressner is a notorious gambler. He'll bet on anything. So of course he finds out about the affair. And being the gambler that he is, he decides to place a wager on Norris's life and wagers Norris that he can't walk around the ledge of their high-rise apartment building, which no telling how many stories up this thing is. But anyway,
I tell you, they do a good job of making you feel the height of it.
God.
Though.
Yeah, I was about to talk about that. But anyway, he tells Norris that if he makes it around the building, Norris can have his wife. He'll sign for divorce, free and clear. And if he doesn't, obviously he's going to fall to his death. And if he refuses to do the stunt entirely, then he's framed him for a bunch of drugs in his car, whatever, and he'll be going to prison for years and years. So he kind of forces him into this life and death wager.
I think I'd take my chance, in all honesty, on the whole car thing.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I would be like, okay, you tell me how that got in there. That wasn't mine. This is the guy that did it. Why don't you go investigate and boom, could be over.
Yeah, he's a crime boss, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But anyway, what you're saying about I was shocked because I am, even though I'm a coaster enthusiast, I am scared of heights.
Same here.
Not debilitating, but to the point where if I go out on a balcony, 3 or 4 stories up, I get really nervous.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I could go on. I've been on the tallest roller coaster out there, and I've been on and I've done, I've been on the tallest skyscraper, which was not. I'll tell you, that one was tough. And I've been on that crazy thing at Vegas. But I'll do it, but I don't like. I feel better when I'm actually on the attraction than like either waiting up there on top for it or watching it. It's like I'm not big on heights in general.
Yeah, so this one, I was surprised. As I was watching it, I felt kind of like butterflies in my stomach at times. Like I felt almost a little nervous watching this, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, because you ever especially anyone that knows me knows I could barely stand on a normal, on the ground and not fall and stumble and lose my balance. So can you imagine me up there? I wouldn't have lasted one corner of that thing.
No. I was just surprised because the age of this movie, you would think that the effects would be cheesy enough that I would never buy into the fact that he was actually 10 stories up or whatever. But for some reason, it really worked on me. Like it was so effective the way they filmed it that I was really genuinely nervous watching it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a little like there was one like a couple scenes where he like the one where he slid off and he somehow held on and climbed back up. Like they kind of cut it just enough so you can't see exactly how he climbs back up.
Yeah,
I mean, because I'm like, how is he gonna climb up? But he kind of does it, and of course, you got. The funny thing, there is a little before we go on, but there is the little cool little nod in there. So Kenneth McMillan, who plays he was also in Salem's Lot, by the way, another Stephen King connection there. He basically, when he's trying to convince him, because it's so funny, even though he hates this guy for stealing his wife, having an affair with his wife. Like Tim said, he loves to bet, and he wants him to take this bet anyway. He'd rather have him bet than just back out and just frame him, because that's no fun for him.
Right.
So he wants to bet him, so he's trying to convince him, and he tells him, he goes, come on. He goes, you got to do the wager. He's like, because then you get the gold watch, you get everything. And those of you know that Robert Hayes starred in a movie from the 80s called The Girl, the Gold Watch, and Everything, which to me, I was like, I had seen this movie a ton of times. I don't think I ever caught that line, that reference. And I used to watch that movie all the time, both movies. And so I was like all giddy yesterday. I'm like, oh my God, But yeah, so back to things. So he's going around, and of course, now Kressner is not like, he does say he never welches on a bet, but he does not necessarily play fair.
Right.
So he's kind of harassing him the whole time and spraying water on him and jumping him out.
Yeah. Beeping a horn.
Oh, that horn.
Him. Yeah.
That was funny when that was the one scene, I think, when the horn was going down. Even though it was not the greatest effect, like you tell it was kind of placed there or animated or digitized or something. But what was amazing is when it was falling, it gave this sense that it was falling forever. Mm-hmm. And it was edited just enough to give you, again, that sense of height. You're like, oh my God. And even Robert Hayes looks down and sees how it's falling and taking so long to get there. I'm just like, wow, that's actually really well done for its time.
What is up with this pigeon? So apparently there's this pigeon that pecks at his ankle. And I'm like, I've never seen a pigeon that aggressive.
Right. Like, why? It's like, most of them, they run away from you.
Like, it's drawing blood. I'm like, why would a pigeon just start pecking your sock like that? Like, it's just crazy.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is, like, maybe because, like, the pigeon, like, okay, down there on the ground, like, yeah, we can kind of, that's kind of like our turf. And then maybe he's up there, we're on this turf. I mean, maybe, like George said, we had a deal. Maybe the deal was to be on the ground, not up there.
I guess. I don't know. It was really bizarre, but great segment. And it's weird because this is the one segment that I always forget about. Or I before I started, getting back into horror and watching these movies again and stuff. Like when I had not seen this movie in years and years and years, I could not for the life of me remember the second segment. I remember the smoking one, and I remember the cat one. Or the troll one at the end, and I just could not remember the second one. I was surprised. I enjoyed it so much. Yeah,
and I think this is like, I think it was one of my favorites. But as a kid, I think it was always that just an edge to that last one. But I think now, as an adult, I think overall, if I think back, I think this one's my favorite out of the three segments.
Yeah, I agree. It almost is for me too, I believe. That brings us to the last segment, which was not based on a short story. This one was actually written for the screenplay. And this one is weird. This one really makes the anthology probably memorable for most kids who saw this growing up, because this is the one segment you're going to remember for very valid reasons, which we'll get into. But it just makes the anthology bizarre because the first two segments are very similar in tone. You have a guy put in a weird position by a crime boss, basically. And then this segment just goes completely supernatural.
Right. It's, what it reminds me of? Remember Trilogy of Terror did the same thing.
Right.
Where it had the first two segments were like pretty, just like, a little bit.
Yeah, over the top, but realistic. Like,
realistic.
Yeah.
And then, boom, they hit you with this last one with this crazy little thing trying to terrorize somebody.
And again, no surprise, Trilogy of Terror, that one's the most memorable segment. And same thing with Cat's Eye. Anybody will tell you, oh, that's the one with the little troll guy,
Right.
So I'm not faulting it for that. It's just kind of weird. It just doesn't fit with the rest of the tone of the movie. But so a young girl, Amanda, who's played by Drew Barrymore, the one that we've seen appear in these cat visions in the rest of the movie, adopts a cat. She names him General, and she her parents, of course, are not having any of this. They believe the cat will hurt her parakeet, and
the dad seems a little more easygoing about it.
Yeah, the mom
is like nutty though over it.
Yeah, in my household, I would be the strict one, and Olivia would be taking every animal in.
Your cats are great.
Yeah, I do have some really cool cats, but
they made friends with me really fast when we were over there.
Yeah, this movie is the one that revisits the old notion, the old wives' tale that cats could steal your breath while you were sleeping. And so I put in the rundown, spoiler alert, as a cat owner whose cats have tried to kill him on several occasions, I'm still not entirely sure this is not true.
Yeah, where did that come from? Like, was that an old wives' tale, one of those things?
It's an old wives' tale, and I think it comes from, I'm acting like I'm a folklore historian or something, but I think
you have to call Aaron Menke.
Yeah, I think it comes from the cats, people finding cats near babies' cribs because of the milk. They smelled the milk on the baby's breath. So you'd see a cat perched on there, and they said the cat was trying to steal the baby's breath or whatever. But
Gotcha.
My cats perch on me too, and I've woken up with them trying to steal my breath. So
well, thank God they didn't.
Yeah. So that's kind of brought up in here, and I remember even as a kid that thing stuck with me. Like I'm not entirely sure what age I stopped believing that cats actually tried to steal your breath.
Yeah, I don't know.
I might have been older. This movie, maybe I thought that was kind of
might have been last year. We don't know.
Might have been last year. Yeah. But anyway, so just to give an overview of the story, apparently there's a troll living in her wall, a miniature troll, and it's the one that's really trying to steal her breath.
Right. And I got to tell you, that effect was pretty good when it would reach out and like pinch her nose.
Oh my gosh, the effects were amazing in this.
Yeah,
they still hold up.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously, most of it was obviously either a little person or, an actor that they just, kind of put him, superimposed him in and edited him in a sequence. Because, the way he moved, it was obviously a real person. It wasn't like stop motion.
They used like big props.
Right,
like an oversized bed, so it looked like a little. They put a real person in this costume and have him climbing. It looks like a little miniature troll climbing up a bedpost or something. It was really well done, though. And then they used some really cool puppetry when they did the close-up shots of his face.
Yeah, and when they reached out, when his hand squeezed her nose, I mean, that was obviously a physical prop of some sort. Yeah, it was. It was well done.
Yeah, it was very well done. I mean, it reminded me of instantly. I thought of Labyrinth and Dark Crystal and all these. When they always had those weird puppet trolls and stuff. That's what this reminded me of. But it's really, really. I was shocked it held up because I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Here comes the troll thing. This is going to be terribly cheesy, but I was shocked. It was really, really good. Just for fun, I knew this was filmed in Wilmington. I knew which neighborhood it's filmed in. I'm not going to advertise it because people still live there. But the house that they filmed this is still there. You can ride by and see it. And it still has I looked it up on Google Maps, and it still has the same windows, the same archway. It architecturally looks just as it did in the movie. The difference is the entire front of this house is covered in ivy now. Like, I mean, completely covered. It looks like it's green.
I wonder if that was intentional by the people to hide it so people stop visiting it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was intentional. I'm sure they planted it there as a facade or whatever. You know how they do those old British houses sometimes have these.
Oh, yeah, they got
architecturally it's the same. And actually, this house, I looked it up, was built in 1931. So it was around way before this movie and, of course, way after. So. But I thought that was pretty cool that you could still drive by and see that one.
That's cool. I may have to. Next time we come visit you, we'll have to take a road trip.
Yeah. I mean, I know exactly where it is. I've probably ridden by it many times and not even realized that was the house.
And I actually liked how this one they actually referred to Wilmington, North Carolina. They it wasn't like it was supposed to be another area. They actually said in one of those overlays it said Wilmington, North Carolina. So.
Yeah. Stephen King apparently, I'm assuming, really likes it down here because obviously they did Firestarter here, they did Cat's Eye, they did Maximum Overdrive, and he set his the beginning of Dr. Sleep, his novel, which was the follow up to The Shining. The intro to that takes place in Wilmington. Like I said, I know people that have seen him around town. So apparently he comes down here and visits. Even
you think
today.
he rode Fury 325?
I don't know.
Not that that's Wilmington, but close enough.
Close enough.
A few hours away, he can go. Maybe he rode. I bet you he did though. Head down to Myrtle Beach though to ride the Swamp Fox. Though.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a coaster fan, but that would be cool. But anyway,
that's a fun coaster.
Yeah, so we have some shots of this troll basically terrorizing poor little Drew Barrymore, and of course General saves the day. I won't go into too much detail on how he does that, but
a very creative way, though.
Very
I think.
very cool sequence.
Very intelligent cat too.
Yeah, and this was as a kid, this was by far my favorite segment.
Right. That's why I said that. That's why I said as a kid, I'm as much as I loved the middle one, the this one was the one that I look forward to the most every time I watched it, because this was as a kid, come on, this is the coolest thing when you're a kid to see this type of horror movie, and it was it wasn't filled with gore, so a kid could literally see this and not have to worry about being scarred really for life. I mean, a lot of stuff probably went over their head. Yeah. In the first two, but
I was the same age as Drew Barrymore, so it was kind of again, like I've said back when we were talking about Corey Feldman and Friday the 13th, it's like the kids fighting the evil thing was really appealed to me because I was a kid too. I was the same age, so to see other kids on the screen, triumphing over evil, that was really neat.
And you lived in Wilmington, so you could have helped her.
There you go. And I believe my mother-in-law met Drew Barrymore on the set of this movie.
Really? My dad actually has a funny story about how he ran into Drew Barrymore a couple of years ago. In fact, he can't. Whenever we talk about this trip, it was every time he goes, "Did I tell you I met Drew Barrymore?" So now it's a family.
Oh, you got to tell us now. You got to tell us.
Well, no, it's literally, it's not even much of a story other than they were walking down the street. She was walking the other way. They smiled and waved and said hi, and he said hi, and that was it. But it became this whole thing about hey, I met Drew Barrymore, and I'm like, I'm assuming they had this whole chat and this whole thing. Okay. But no, that was it.
Hey, well, it's better than some people get, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever see speaking of Drew Barrymore, did you ever see the documentary, and I want to say it's called
My Date with Drew,
with Drew, yeah.
I love that. I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah, that was a great documentary.
Yeah, I used to watch, that used to be on one of the cable stations. It must have aired every day at one point, and I think I watched it all the time because just something about it was so fun to watch. Yeah. The guy that was trying to date her was a goofy guy, and he really wasn't super likable. And it was kind of I wasn't even rooting for him in it. It was just I liked watching it.
Yeah, it's this guy was basically filming his quest to go on a date with Drew Barrymore, and he wasn't doing it in a stalkery way. He was kind of a fun, documentary filmmaker kind of way. And I won't spoil what happens, but it was definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and it's fun to watch. I'm someone who loves documentaries anyway. I especially love those documentaries like that, where there's a time limit and they have to do something. Mm-hmm. Like the one I told Tim to watch, a Nintendo Quest, which I know is way off topic, but it basically this guy, he set 30 days to go purchase in person. He can't use the internet or anything like that. And he has to purchase every single original NES game, all 659 or something, whatever. And that's really fun because it's those kind of documentaries I love, those road documentaries like that. Yeah. And so this one kind of had that feel to it. I think that's why I liked it, just in a lot goofier way.
Yeah. So anyway, wrapping up, this one's just a cool anthology. I have to admit that it's one that I have not watched a lot over the years. I remember enjoying it when it came out, and I maybe watched it once or twice over the ensuing years, but I had not seen it in many years before I rewatched it for the show. But it really, really is a kind of a unique one, and it makes me wonder why more Stephen King short stories haven't been adapted into anthology format. I mean, I know we got Creepshow to some extent, and this one, but you would think because he's got some fabulous short story collections, tons of them. I mean, I could name off the top of my head at least 5 or 6 probably.
Well, think about it. I mean, with the Stephen King as hot as ever right now, I mean, now is the time to do it.
And you almost wonder if that Castle Rock show that's coming out might.
Oh, you're right. You know what? That could probably take a bunch of them. You're right. I forgot about that. Well, yeah, so yeah, that could be it. I mean, it's so funny. It's like, 'cause especially now that like the way our Civil Gore track record is lately, we say something like that and it seems to happen.
That's right.
So there we go. I think that might be. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, some people may think of this as so cheesy and typical cheesy 80s, but this was one of my favorite anthology movies that I've seen. I love this one. I'll always watch it. I never have.
And honestly, it holds up surprisingly well.
It does. I could not believe, and I'm so glad when I bought that. Like, I remember, Tim, we bought that in that sequence of that and Salem's Lot when they had them on Blu-ray, and it was like under $10. I'm like, that for me, that's a steal. And it still looks good. I mean, yeah, it's not super high quality where the visuals pop out of your screen, but like Tim said, it holds up. I mean, the effects were good enough at the time that they still look believable today, which is pretty hard to do for a movie that old. And it's just a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, the Blu-ray actually has a commentary on it, which I was hoping
saw that.
Yeah, I was hoping to listen to it before this show, but I just ran out of time. But I definitely want to get to that as well.
Yeah, I think I actually may watch that too, and maybe they'll go into explaining that whole deleted mythology of the cat thing. They may touch base on that. And then I got to tell you, this movie ends with probably the most 80s song in history.
It might be more 80s than the Karate Kid.
Oh,
song.
I think this takes the crown. It's basically called Cat's Eye, and it's one of those like typical cheesy 80s movie, almost like, not to disparage this of it, but like, you know how Ghostbusters, like, okay, you can't like have Ghostbusters in any other sequence really than describing the movie. That's like this. Like, I can't imagine another sequence where you would be playing the song Cat's Eye. I mean, this thing goes right in, like, I mean, the only thing else they could add lyrics like, it stars James Woods and it stars James, it's like literally like.
Well, so the artist is Ray Stevens, and it's not like the Grandma got run over by a reindeer. It's not Ray Stevens. It's like Stephens.
Yeah.
But he's, if you look at him on ID, he's an actor. He's not even a musician or an artist or anything. So
I could buy that.
It's like they got the actor to sing this. It's like they call him and say, "Hey Ray, can you sing this?" Like, Johnny over there's got keyboards, and I think Billy's got a drum set, and we're gonna like rock out this '80s tune for this movie. If you want to jump in and do lead vocals on it.
Yeah, and it may sound silly at times, but you got to really sell it because he gets into it. You could tell he gets into this.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, good job. But anyway.
Yeah, I may have to like sample that off the thing because I kind of want to hear that again. Like, I could just listen to that song.
Oh man, yeah. But anyway, you worked hard on this beer pairing, Brian. So I'm gonna let you take that one.
I did, because I mean, now it probably wouldn't have been hard again, but we did give our restriction, being Steph-tember and all. I had to stay in the realms of Maine. So I think I went through every single Maine brewery at this point. It was the last one I found. It was one I don't even think I've seen before, but it's from Rockyard Brewing in Rockland, Maine, and it's called Lynx Lager. So it's a German-style Helles lager brewed with Pilsen malts and noble hops. And I think that kind of fits it because General is a very noble cat, I think.
Yeah.
He saved Drew Barrymore. He escaped. He did cause a car accident, but that was to no fault of his own. That was Cressman's fault. Yeah. But yeah, so I think that was a good one for that.
And even though he's a gray tabby, he still looks a little lynx-like.
He does. Yeah, I mean, I was looking. I'm sure I could find a beer that was a lot more descriptive by name for this, but like I said, it had to be from Maine. That's our rules.
Yeah.
So,
and it's just gotta be a pairing. It doesn't have to be spot on every time.
Right.
So our trivia question this week, we couldn't decide between these two because one is, I wouldn't say easy, but one is fairly straightforward, and the other one is like impossible.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I mean, not impossible that if you really want to take the time, you can probably find it. Yeah. But
so we're going to give you an easy one and a hard one, and you can feel free to answer whichever one you want. But
or both.
Yeah, or both. So the easy one is, this was the first Stephen King film. I'm sorry, let me reword that. Yeah. This film was a Stephen King first. What is it known for as being the first Stephen King film to do what?
Yeah, I didn't word that great when I gave it to Tim, so it's not his fault.
Yeah. First Stephen King film to do what?
Yeah.
That's probably a better way to do it.
Yeah,
Okay, that's the easy one. The hard one is, other than Drew Barrymore and Kevin McMillan, who was the only other actor in Cat's Eye to appear in at least one other Stephen King adaptation?
Yeah. So this one is definitely a really, I would say, difficult one. So this one, you are actually going to get, if you get this, you're going to get an autographed copy of Paul Blart too. But of course, it's autographed by me and Tim. So yeah, but that'll be the price. No, but all kidding aside, yeah, no, this one I wanted to give a really challenging one, and believe me, this one I know it's kind of like it's really like rotten to me to kind of give this one out because it was more me being bored for a little bit and trying to get a mental break, and I was like, let me give it real hard trivia. So I spent a while trying to research.
So we've thrown down the gauntlet on that one. That's
yeah,
a challenging one. And last week's trivia question was the writer. One of the writers of it, Cary Fukunaga, was originally going to direct this adaptation of the film. Who is the one actor in the final version of the movie that was also in Fukunaga's original cast?
It was Finn Wolfhard.
Oh, there you go. That would have been my guess, of course.
Yeah, so obviously, can you imagine that another actor playing that role in it? He was so good in it.
Yeah. And
he's so 80s kid. Like, yeah, they must have just... And the funny thing is, it was before Stranger Things he was cast.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, because I had remembered reading that he was involved in the project long before Stranger Things ever came on the scene. So, yeah, that makes sense now. Yeah,
and speaking of Stranger Things, I don't know if you guys saw, I shared that on our Facebook page, the one where they took all the classic posters and made them into Stranger Things posters.
Yeah,
like they
that
had
was
Jaws.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a neat little touch to it. I love when they do stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's always kind of fun.
So anyway, guys, leave us an iTunes review. We're going to start giving shout-outs to people who leave us iTunes reviews. So we'll start going through those.
Yeah, and just in general, like anyone, and because we have a lot of people that like like our tweets and Instagram, and so we got to really start shouting you guys out because there's so many great followers. I know that will say just even if they say a little thing or just like a page or share something, retweet. It's fun. So you guys are all awesome out there. We just it's just a matter of us getting a list together and start doing that. And also we have I know we get some direct messages too. We probably should touch on this real quick. We get some direct messages of people wanting for us to check out stuff. We are planning to go through that at some point. So I know it's a little slow, and for some of you guys have been like it was months ago when you first. But we're promising we're going to get through that, and we're going to do. We were thinking of doing an episode on just stuff like that, kind of touching base on that.
Yep. So we'll you look us up on obviously Facebook, Gmail. Oh gosh, what else we got? Instagram. We're blowing up Instagram right now. I'm leaving one out. Twitter. Oh yeah, Twitter. Yes. That thing. Yeah. Twitter.
That bird thing.
Yeah. And I hope you enjoyed my teaser for this week's episode. I've been dropping little musical teasers every now and again if I could find something that sounds appropriate. So
yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, we may do another musical teaser for next week's episode as well.
I already have the one for you to pick, which I'll talk to you after we get off the air because we don't want to tip it yet.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for listening. We're coming up on a big milestone with our downloads, which is really exciting. And we hope you love listening to the podcast as much as we love recording it. So we'll see you back next week for more fun. Get ready for Halloween. We got some big horror movie challenges coming up and lots of haunt stuff. Gonna be a good time.
Yes, and remember, cats will not steal your breath.
Maybe.